In a world where change is the only constant, Choumil stands at the forefront, guiding title professionals to not just grow their businesses, but to master the art of innovation. With every episode, you're handed the keys to unlock unparalleled growth and stay ahead of the curve. Get ready for a transformative journey.
Hello and welcome to the Title Agents Podcast. I am your host, Choumil, CEO of Alltech National Title. Today, we're joined by my good friend, Kelly Resendez, and an industry leader in mortgage and a champion for women in business. Get ready for powerful insights on leadership, growth, and how to succeed in the title industry. Here's a little brief bio on Kelly. In addition to being a great mom, business executive, and good lead, a multi-billion-dollar fintech company, best-selling author, and influencer, Kelly is a true leader in empowering women to live a life of abundance. As a co-owner of Go Abundance Women, a membership organization for women dedicated to achieving greatness and abundance, Kelly is passionate about helping others adopt an abundance mindset and overcome self-sabotage to achieve their goals. She believes that joy and success go hand in hand, has dedicated her life to helping women find both. Through her popular book, Big Voices, and her Women Empowered Network, Kelly shares her strategies and tools to inspire and empower women to think differently and achieve all they desire. Welcome, Kelly, to the show.
Hi, Mo.
I'm really super excited to have you on the show and really dig deep in on your background and your expertise and all you do to empower women. It's as you know, the mortgage and title industry is dominated by women.
Yes.
So this is I'm really happy to touch on this and gonna dig a little deeper.
Me too.
Kelly, you have an impressive background as an executive at Good Leap, a best-selling author and co-owner of Go Abundance Women. Can you share your journey and what inspired you to focus on empower women in the industry?
Yeah, I would definitely say it didn't start off that way. I was like most people, in college trying to figure out what I was going to be when I grew up. And I fortunately had been working at a bank. And honestly, the way that I got into mortgage was the loan officer that was assigned to my bank branch showed me her paycheck. And I was like, all right, done. I had expensive taste at that time. And so I knew that, it would be probably a very prosperous, opportunity for me. And I had no idea that here we are, 26 years later, and still definitely have a big foot in the mortgage industry to this day. So that's really honestly how I started. And like most people, you're pretty self-focused. You're focused on your business. You're focused on maybe adding value to people that were in a position to refer business to you. But over time, what I recognized early on in my career is that if I could cast a wider web of impact, if I could start to, help my escrow officers or help my insurance brokers or just other people, that it would magnetize me for even more opportunities. So that's truly what I did. I started in mortgage in 98. And from that point, started to, speak and share value on business strategy and basics with the real estate community. And of course, when you focus on the real estate community, you get a lot of other, people that are there. And over time, I just realized that, women and men have such core differences in what they struggle with. And so instead of really just focusing on it as a whole, I niched down probably about 6-7 years ago to primarily focus on women. That doesn't mean that my message doesn't resonate with everyone, but for myself, I feel it's really important. Women are such a powerful force in connection and, the direction that our children take, the direction that our companies take. And the more we step into our highest, most, authentic and feminine power, the greater capacity we have to change some of what I believe are just organizational, missteps that we've made along the way. I mean, you and I both know, we might represent a good portion of women in the industry, but that doesn't mean that we've got the same representation at ownership or C-suite level. We're at a board level. And so I believe that truly needs to change.
Saying about your background in the mortgage industry, I know you had like 2008, you had a shift. Can you talk about that? Like you shifted
Yeah.
from traditional mortgage to a more specific niche product.
Yeah. So, like everyone, right? I was going along and I was, top 1% in the nation, in the beginning of my career and was doing really well. And, had built a brand for myself in Northern California of influence. So I didn't have to honestly go through what a lot of loan officers do, which is just dialing for dollars and trying to get that next agent to have coffee with you. I'd elevated myself to a point where, if someone got invited to come to one of my events, they were pretty excited. So I really did kind of turn the relationship dynamic on its head in my career. And so when 2008 came, I had already had what I kind of call as my awakening, which was in '04, where I started to realize that my mindset and who I was being was more important than what I was doing. And I'm grateful for that because I worked through some of the greatest challenges that I feel, a lot of industry people have, which are high levels of stress, burnout, and what I would say attachment, which means they're really attached to outcomes of deals closing or commissions coming or things like that. And I had worked through all those things over the course of that period of time. So when '08 hit, we were just like shoulder shrug, where's the next big opportunity? And we really pivoted from being just a traditional lender to being really focused on short sale and REO properties and being the expert in how to navigate flips, being the expert. We were the go-to. Every escrow officer in town knew, like, chances are they were going to get some of my loan documents that day because we did so well moving into the government space. And I hadn't done a government loan since, the first part of my career. But that level of mastery that we committed to of like really knowing the insides and out to any and all things related to a short sale, to an REO, so that we could prevent challenges from happening really gave us a unique position in the market.
And I think it was at the 2012 or 14, somewhere around there, you pivoted to more fintech. Right?
Yeah. And that was a fun one. So here's what I would say. I knew in my heart when I really looked at my life that I wanted to make a bigger impact in the world. And although I was doing a great job at a super successful team, I was successful by what anyone else would classify as successful. But for myself, I didn't feel successful because I wasn't aligned with my purpose completely, which was making, the world a much better place. And so I wanted and knew that I wanted to do something more. And so at this point, I was running at about 11 years of running a very high producing team, and everything by anyone else's standards was going great. But for myself inside, I knew that I wanted something more. And that's when I had this opportunity to come to Goodleap. We've changed our name several times over the last couple years to really shift what we've done. It started off as Paramount Equity Mortgage and then Loan Pal and then Goodleap. But over time, we've also pivoted the company. So I've been on the executive team now for 13 years. I've worn so many different hats. But what I can say is the one thing that we've been hyper focused on is just solving problems at scale. Really looking at the overall industry of what's happening in the solar market, what's happening in the home improvement market, and just really expanding what we do to, really dominate in that space. And so we do have a financial technology platform that supports contractors. We're a very B2B model today. And so that's really what we've done. We still have a very large mortgage division and they help our customers, but we primarily just focus on that customer base.
So I want to dig a little deeper in the purpose and alignment. What was a breakthrough? And that's a lot of people may be very hard to grasp, but what that even means. Like that, because we get tied, as you said, we get so tied into outcome and having to support lifestyle more than what you need kind of thing. But how do you, what was a breakthrough for you and what you recommend to all the ladies and men in the industry?
Yeah.
To dig deeper and find that purpose and have that alignment which is going to really, it's a true fuel of power to push you and go through thick and thin and really thrive.
Well, the first thing you have to do is assess where you are in the moment. And I think you're stuck or you've hit a plateau if you're not waking up excited and energized about whatever it is that you're doing. And when you don't have freedom to choose, because you feel like for a lot of people in mortgage, real estate, title, etc., they've created a lifestyle that is really, created by the income potential that we have in our industry, which is high. And so it is definitely, you can feel trapped. And if that's how you're feeling, that's where like, I need to do a little bit more inner work so that I can figure out where I can get to. And so what I would say I started with was just really knowing, like, if not now, when? We all think, like, years go by, right? I want to do something different. And then you're like, oh my gosh, that was like 3 years ago. How did that happen? And so I knew that I needed to start focusing on really what I wanted to do. And the minute that I started to do that, that's when opportunities started to come to me from a higher level. And I'm just so blessed and grateful. Hayes Barnard, our CEO and founder, is one of those people that was like, I want to change the world and I want to find amazing people to do it with. I haven't figured it out yet, but we were both really aligned on personal growth and development. And that was really the biggest reason why I made, the decision that I did to leave a career and have that trust fold in him, to be able to get to this next level. And so I would tell you that if you don't feel alive, and you know what that feels like when you're like, oh my gosh, like I feel so, like when I'm doing podcasts, when I'm speaking on stage, when I'm doing some of those things impacting, our company from a leadership perspective, like all of those things that really make me feel alive, that's when I know, like, all right, I am in the right place doing the right things. And this is a company that's made a massive impact in the world. Not only are we solving a lot of the sustainability challenges by being one of the largest financiers in that space, we also have a nonprofit that Michelle McGee over at Give Power runs, that we have 1 million people today and every day that have clean water because of our water desalination projects that we have. And for myself, like every day, I don't just have a cup of coffee. Like I have gratitude when I have a cup of coffee. Like most of us haven't had to think about, like, where do I get clean water today? 2 billion people out there have to think about how they're going to get clean water. And what people don't realize is that it affects the women's movement, because women in a lot of these communities, that's their primary role, is to get water for their children and their families. And if that's what they're focused on, they can't get education. They can't start a business no matter what it is. And so I look at my life as being, my purpose is to solve big problems, and everybody has a different purpose. So there's not mine's right, yours is wrong, whatnot. I just know for myself, like I am here to solve bigger problems. And so being in this role, being able to have the flexibility to write books and speak and have other things simultaneously is what I really needed to do.
We definitely need more people like you, not just women, but people in general.
Yeah.
In your book, Big Voices, you discuss overcoming self-sabotage. Can you share some practical tips for mortgage and title professionals and how to recognize and overcome self-sabotage in their career?
Yeah. So the first thing that I would say is that we've got to identify what self-sabotage is. So no one ever says when they wake up, like, I want to have a super stressful day where I feel absolutely exhausted and don't want to talk to another human being when I'm done, right? Nobody ever starts their day that way. Yet so many of people, especially in our industry, end their day that way. And it's because we give and we give and we give. And so when we do that, we really don't set ourselves up to receive on a regular basis. And so where sabotage comes into effect is when we have an idea or a blueprint of feeling successful, feeling in joy, and then our own humanness, like our own outlook, our own, some of our own preferred methods of self-sabotage create the opposite environment of what we really want. Because I think to the depths of our soul, we all want joy. We all want to feel worthy. We all want to feel successful. And so self-sabotage is when we are the ones that do something about it. Now we can blame rising interest rates or the market or any of these other things for some of the core challenges in the industry, but I'm talking about the things in and day out. So what I would say is the most common ways that I see people self-sabotage is, number one, they feel like they're alone. They try to do everything alone. They're just in it on their own. They're not asking for help. They're not being vulnerable enough to say, man, I need to change my life. I need to hire a coach. I need to join a mastermind. I need to do something different. They really do feel like they're alone. And so that is a major challenge that, we do to sabotage ourselves, is just staying in isolation. And so how do you shift out of that? Number one, you just have to measure where you are. Like, if this resonates with you, is this a way that I do feel like, especially for successful people, right? Like, your most successful people in the title industry or in mortgage or real estate feel like they're alone because they don't have anyone to celebrate their success with. They don't have anyone at their level to hold them accountable or support them or make big decisions. And so that's a major way that we sabotage ourselves. So the way that we get through that is just make a decision. Like, I'm not going to do this alone. Like, I need to open the flow of receiving. I need to ask for help. And that will make a big difference.
Do you think, this is so prevalent, like in the title and mortgage industry, especially like when the market is hot, like in 2020, 2021, God bless, title professionals and title mortgage working 12, 14, 16 hours a day. And when you ask, trying to support like the processors, underwriters, hey, what can we do to help you? What can we take off your plate? But they're really very kind of protective. And you just said, they think they're the only ones that can do it, and ask for help is maybe showing weakness. I'm not sure. I don't know how to kind of really explain it, but it's really, as you said, it's like that's self-sabotage and not asking for help. And how do we, like, we're very big on, like, I want people to come to work and want to come to work and be happy. Like, we want, the reason we don't let vacation carry over next year, because we people to use the vacation. Like, I want you to use that. I want you to kind of keep piling weeks. That doesn't mean it. I want you to be rejuvenated and refreshed. It's very important.
Well, here's what I would say is that you have to face the truth. No one is probably going to do it better than you. When you are a high producer, when you're someone doing it, that's okay. They don't have to do it as good as you. The one thing that people would ask me is, how did you do so much in such little time? Because I was committed to being a very conscious parent. I was really committed to putting myself first and not sacrificing my physical and emotional well-being. I just hired really thoughtfully. If a market swelled, I would hire people that knew this was going to be a temporary position until we got through it. And we would invest the time in training and holding them accountable to what we needed done. And then some of those people ended up being with me. One of those people joined me in 2002. She's going to kill me. Sarah works with me still to this day, right? We had to go to Costco to buy folding tables to put in the basically in the entryway halls of our office, because we were just overflowing with opportunity, right? And now she's still with me today. She's one of my corporate trainers here at Goodleap. And it's just, you've got to be willing to delegate. You've got to be willing to leverage. I use virtual assistants on a daily basis to do some of the things for myself that, really I don't get the ROI on. So you've got to be thoughtful. You only live once. Like, people die in markets like that where they're working 12 hours a day and they're sacrificing their emotional and physical well-being. So the first thing I would say is just make a decision. No matter what markets do, set the boundaries for the type of life that you want to create, and just never allow anybody to, move you beyond your human capacity. One of the exercises that I do with people, especially in GoBundance Women, is called an abundance audit. And it's really looking at your life and auditing what makes you feel in abundance and what doesn't. And the one area that people struggle with the most, Mo, is time. And it's like we all have the same amount. It's what we do with it. Like it is truly what we do with it that differentiates us. And so learning the skills to focus on the highest ROI activities or those big needle movers is a level of mastery that you need, because otherwise you're going to be like every other top producer. If things are busy, you're going to work yourself to death. And that's not the only way to do it.
How can women in the mortgage and title industry support each other to achieve greater success and foster a collaborative environment?
Yeah, so the first thing is get away from the left brain idea that it's competition. That's number one. You've got to find ways to really move over to the right brain a lot more. I think the reason why the world is in the condition that it is that we're in a very left brain world. And I think a whole brain approach is going to make everything better. Like the world will be a better place when we tap into our creativity and our connection. And so it's recognizing the difference between masculine and feminine energy. And so the first thing that I would say is that you've got to know, like, our ability to be present and supportive with one another is a superpower. And so you don't want to be in that place where you're in that state of competition. There's more than enough opportunity. So few things. Number one, quit judging one another. Number one, like whether it's somebody made a post you don't like, or they're working with somebody you don't like, or doing something that you don't like, just stay in your own business. Stop focusing. It is one of the greatest abundance blocks is judgment. And so stop, and women are really hard on one another. Like, did you see her hair? Did you see that? Did you see that? And then make a decision, no matter what you do, to always be supportive of other women. When you're in a boardroom, when you're in anywhere, like really repeat again what they say and tell them how impactful it was. Be a great, engaged, active listener, and make sure that we aren't minimizing, ourselves in these meetings, and supporting and lifting one another up. Whether it's sharing other people's information out there in the world and really just commenting and saying great job or anything like that. Like, I look at friends of mine in the industry, and they've never, although we've worked at different companies our entire career, they've never been competitors for me. They just offer something different. And so we just have to make sure that we do that, and then find ways to actually connect and collaborate with women, whether it's in, like, for example, GoAbundance Women is a mastermind community of ambitious female leaders. I've got people in mortgage and title that are in there too, that we are all coming together as thought leaders to say, how are we going to change some of the old design that's no longer working when it comes to leadership? Or finding those groups. I just spoke at the National Association of Women Professionals in Mortgage, I think is what it was called. And so those groups are coming together to strategize about how can we elevate women. And what I would say is that until women start saying, hey, this doesn't work for me, I need more flexibility, I want to be a great mom, and I want to take care of myself, and here's what I can do, and we start really articulating our needs, nothing's going to change.
And that's a segue to your next question, which is, you often speak about the importance of balancing personal and professional life. What advice do you have for title professionals who are trying to find their balance?
Yeah.
While striving for success?
Absolutely. That's a great question. So the first word that I want to unpack is balance, because we use that word a lot, work-life balance. If I look at statistics today between men and women, and when we survey them and question them, women alarmingly cite that is one of their greatest challenges. I mean, I'm talking about like 25% more of the time. So what we're thinking about and caring about is different than our male counterparts. Doesn't mean it's wrong, doesn't mean it's right. What it means is that for whatever reason, that might be one of the reasons why we aren't getting to the next level. And so what we want to look at rather than balance is alignment. And alignment is really that I'm aligned with my purpose. My priorities are in alignment. So here's the first decision you have to make, Mo. You must put your physical and emotional well-being before anything else. Period. Like, not open for discussion. not before. You don't put your kids first. You don't put your husband first, or your partner, or whatever it is. You don't put your job first. You don't put your real estate agents first. You don't put any of these things first. You have to put yourself first. And when you do that, when you really just set it down, like for example, I have a morning ritual that I do 365 days out of the year. I look at how I want to feel, which is what I call my vision. I look at my goals of how I believe I'm going to get there. I look at my priorities as a reminder. Now I'm very faith-based, so God comes first. I read the Bible every single day. I do these things every single day because I am telling my brain what's most important. So when you harness your brain to be able to help you create the life you want, that's where magic happens. Most people don't even know that they're not their brain. Like, let's be honest, like everyone that I talk to is plagued with overthinking, anxiety, like they're self-sabotaging. These are all brain-based challenges that we're facing. And so when you put your physical and emotional well-being first, things drop into alignment. Now I can make sure as I'm going about my day, I spend enough time doing creative things because that's what brings me joy. I spend enough time when I'm with my kids. I haven't given all my energy to my job. So when I come home to my sweetheart and my kids, I'm not completely depleted, which most people are. They want to just zone out, have a glass of wine, avoid conversation, connection. So you've got to make these things a priority. And that's where alignment is. So the one thing, beyond really getting to your emotional and physical priority is number one. The second thing is I need to remove guilt. That's the work-life balance issue. It's not where do I spend my time, because a lot of people love working and they're addicted to it. And that's the reason why they do it, but they feel guilty. So we need to remove guilt and reduce stress. And that's where we're going to find this space of people are going to feel more aligned. Like, again, I'm the creator of my own reality. I don't work 12-hour days. That is beyond my human capacity for greatness. And I've got to make sure my company knows that's not, but I can guarantee when I work, I give a lot more and I'm a lot more efficient and effective than a lot of people that work 12 hours a day. So you've got to really make that decision. Again, put yourself first and then create systems. And I'm using the word systems because just like you run through a system as a title officer or somebody of what you do, you got to systemize your own well-being too. And it's a system to reduce stress and to remove guilt. And those are some of the things that I share in GoBundance Women.
You mentioned guilt a couple of times. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, guilt is, oh my gosh, I wish I was home with my kids. I'm never there with my husband. And we haven't done this. We haven't done that. Like, I haven't taken vacation. Like, we beat ourselves up a lot. Okay. Like, we feel like I want to know I am where I am, doing what I want to do. And there are seasons in life, right? When my kids were little, I'm blessed that I'm a empty nester now. And when they were little, it was a season in which like the quantity and quality of time was probably higher than it is now, And so I've got to, when I had smaller kids, I knew like I needed to shut it down at 5:30 and turn my phone off until they went to bed. And then I'd work again. And I just decided I wanted to live a guilt-free like world. I didn't want to feel bad. And my kids, I mean, let's be honest, they're narcissistic little suckers. Right? They're like, well, how come all the other moms don't pick up the kids? Or how come the other moms made, chocolate chip cookies and you went to the store? And I was just so, but it wasn't. For me, I was like, well, that's not the mom you picked. You picked a mom who has a really big, important role in the world. And in doing that, it's not important to me to make cookies. It might be important to you. If you want to learn how to make cookies, then you can do it. So the way that I parented my kids was much different. I didn't do guilt. I just made a choice to live without it.
We'll shift gears here a little bit to technology. With both the mortgage and title industries increasingly adopting new technologies, how can professionals effectively integrate automation into their workflows without losing the personal touch that clients value?
Yeah, great question. Because let's be honest, we are decades behind other industries. And, CFPB and other compliance requirements are make it a little bit more challenging for us when we're dealing with privacy issues and other things. So the way that I look at technology is that technology is really a co-pilot to personal relationships. And so you can leverage it to be more efficient. You can leverage it to be more intuitive, like who should I be talking to and when, but you can never take away from what we really need, which is that voice to voice, face to face connection. So could we exist in a world where people are self-serving mortgage needs and title needs and other things? Probably. Is that ever going to help us really be able to, get to a better place? No, because people need people to walk them through their emotions and the problems that arise when, certain things are going on. Buying a home is one of the biggest decisions that you make. You're locked in for 30 years. There is no amount of AI or technology that's ever going to answer all the questions that you need in order to do that. And so when I look at technology, I mean, I'll be honest with you, Mo, I kind of look at my career and I crack up because in 1998, I worked for a company. At that time, it was Home Savings, and they had already gotten to a digital platform for like underwriting and processing. Everything was scanned in, everything was done. And then Washington Mutual buys us, and we literally stepped back in time for like the next several years. Over that period, we had a failed and miserable launch of a new technology that was supposed to make things better, where we had to have two systems doing one thing. Then I go to another big giant, who I won't name, with the Stagecoach, that had another failed launch of a loan origination system, because it's just, there's so much private customer data and so much that goes into our industry. And so the way that I look at it is I do believe technology is a great, it's a great co-pilot for what we do. And you look at all the data you have now, man, it helps me be able to know, point of sale or whatnot, everything I need to know about the property, the attributes, other things that are super valuable. But that's not going to replace that kitchen conversation, that kitchen table conversation that a loan officer or a real estate agent really need to have. And also, it's never going to replace that relationship between the title and escrow and those people, because we normally need you when there's really, really big problems. And so I say use it most effectively just to be a co-pilot so that you have more time and energy to go deeper on the relationship building.
Awesome. What are some of the biggest challenges you see mortgage and title professionals facing today, and how can they navigate these challenges to continue growing their careers?
Yeah, I'll tell you, the number one challenge I truly believe is outlook, is their mindset. It's not what's happening externally. The world in which I hear loan officers, title officers, real estate agents blame rising interest rates, there is opportunity in every market. It's how you get it. So what happens is, most of them fish in a certain pond, right? And so now if there's less fish in that pond, they just stay looking at the same pond, saying there's less fish there, instead of maybe it's time for me to go to an ocean. Maybe it's time for me to go someplace else. Maybe it's time for me to expand my reach. And so I would say that's one of them. The second one is that they haven't leveraged technology to really be intuitive about who they should be talking to. So for myself, one of my superpowers, and my last book in the mortgage industry, Foundation to Sustainable Success, really went into this. They don't focus on referrals and repeat clients from a very systemized approach. Every conversation you have should be, who do you know I should talk to? And if you come across somebody, like, people are really busy. They have so much out there. You've got to stay in front of them on social media. You've got to stay in front of them on email. You've got to stay in front of them on phone calls and client appreciation parties and whatnot, so that you can really be able to, in spite of any market, be able to turn some of these funnels up. So this is what I believe is a core issue, is that there's not mastery in client acquisition. Like they really haven't figured out the right recipe for acquiring clients. And if you set a goal today for everyone, for every customer you have, if you got one referral from them a year, it would change your business.
Absolutely. As a mentor to many, what key advice would you give to young women entering the mortgage and title industries today?
Spend as much time on who you're being as what you're doing. You know, when I got into personal growth and development 20, plus years ago, was the best investment in my career I could make. I've never stopped. I just today ordered John Maxwell's new book. I will always, every single day, try to improve my leadership skills because even though you might not have a manager title, you are an influencer. And when you realize the power of influence is a skill, it's not just something you were born with. Like, I'll be honest, I could have gone on stages from the time I was born. That is a natural superpower that God gave me. I can be on a stage, have a high level of influence. It's something that something that I'm grateful for. But I also have developed other skills that go along with it. Like, how do I really invoke more emotion to get people to make decisions? That's a skill. I've spent a lot of time on that. I've spent a lot of time on emotional intelligence so that I can have that ability to read people. I've also spent a lot of time on harnessing empathy. And I'm an empath. I used to take on everyone's challenges and I would get heavy with worrying about other people. And I learned and I trained, how can I be in that place of support without really taking on the feelings that other people have? So I would tell you, number one, look at what everyone else is doing. Adopt some of those things if you like them, but try to find the blue ocean in the industry. What are people not doing that you might be able to do? And what I did in my career, I spoke. I put together events every single month. I drove big groups of people into rooms so that I could have that authority rather than being the person like, hey, would you please have coffee with me? And the realtor's like, oh, you're the 8th lender that just called me this month. That's a red sea. Like, go for the blue ocean strategy. I love that philosophy if you haven't read that book, but it's definitely a good one.
Awesome. What emerging trends do you see in the mortgage and title industries that women should be aware of and prepare to leverage for future success?
Yeah, I think, again, emerging trends are going to be, how do we make the point of sale experience a lot easier for people? How can we leverage some of that technology to be able to have freedom to do things, whether that's using income tools so that I don't have to spend my time doing that and leveraging some of those technologies today. I would say other emerging trends are just, using AI where it's compliant. How can I use it to create my social media strategy? How can I use it to, stay in touch with my customers? How can I use a virtual assistant to be able to nurture the people that I've been working with, that way my return on investment on my time, you should be spending the majority of your time face to face with customers, real estate agents, or getting on Zoom and hosting events, really getting a bigger impact than just doing some of those other things. So I would say emerging trends are going to be, there's been a lot of consolidation amongst big service providers. Whether that's like a CoreLogic or whatnot, there's a lot of things that are improving efficiency for mortgage companies, I would say. And I'm sure on your side too, there's a lot of technology that you provide to all of the people that you work with. Is never lose sight that in spite of those things, there's a reason. The why is so that you can have greater influence and impact. And that's what I would say, because I believe wholeheartedly the industry is out for shrinking, right? Not as many people are going to be as needed just in the future. So you've got to make yourself as relative and an authority on leveraging all of these emerging technologies as possible.
I want to touch on Go Abundance Women and the power of mastermind.
Yes.
I've been in Go Abundance about 10 years. Really credit a lot of the success I've had the last 10 years to having a tribe of like-minded the entrepreneurs that can really push you and hold you accountable, and that competitive edge is incredible. But I want from the women's side, because we want to touch on that, and since this episode is focused on women.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing that I would say is that most of us have a hard time investing in ourselves. And yet we do it in interesting ways. Somebody might be willing to go buy a purse or clothes or other things, yet we don't invest in that next level thinking. And that's one of the things that I would encourage you to do, no matter where you go, is to find and invest in yourself and in a community wherever it might be. So what GoBundance Women really offers to anybody, whether you're an ambitious female business owner, leader, somebody that just wants to get to next level on investing, is we provide an accelerator course right out of the gates that really just helps you up-level your leadership skills and the way that you look at your business. So whether it's your business or you're running a desk or whatever it might be, we really just give you a different way to look at it. And then with GoBundance Women, you're also put into a pod of like-minded people. And that's that group of people that are going to support, cheer you on, ask bigger and deeper questions to get you to that next level. You've got to be willing to be vulnerable. You've got to be willing to say, I want to invest in myself and I want you to hold me accountable to these things, which is really important. And then along with it, we've got, some mindset coaching that I personally provide and master classes on things. And then we also have micro tribes that cross over with the men's group. So no matter what you're interested in, whether that is, creating passive income, as you're working hard, what are you doing with your money? Are you being thoughtful about creating financial freedom for yourself? Or do you want to make sure that health is a priority? You want to improve your worthiness. We're working on the book Worthy right now in a book club. So no matter what your interests are, we have something for everyone. And then the last piece of it is really just connection, is that, women have a really innate ability to connect, where I think I love that about GoBundance Men, is that it pushes that connection piece, but it changes who you're connecting with. And I think it's these people are newer in your life. They don't know you always. You don't have to put on any fronts. You can be authentically yourself and be accepted and supported no matter where you are.
That's awesome. Talking about masterclasses, and one of my favorite ones was one of yours. It was late last year about goal setting, and I asked to just watch a recording of it. And I've been to so many, and I've listened and watched goal setting from a male perspective. It's always linear. It's all about checklists. It's all about more driven by numbers. But yours was really more holistic. Was really touching emotion part and like a lot of emotion, self-care, and I was very different than like all the ones that I kind of seen in the past. Do you want to touch more about from female perspective was incredible?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think it's men and women, because let's be honest, most people are in a hamster wheel and they run a lot of if onlys. Like, if only the market was better, if only my kids were better, if only, this, if only that, then I would feel, joy. So for myself, I am a big proponent that you must create the life, or else your brain just goes rogue. So I've spent a lot of time studying neuroscience, like a lot of time studying it. And so with studying neuroscience comes understanding that our brain is really wired for danger. And so if that's the automatic operating system, I've got to give it a new one. I've got to tell it how I want it to feel. I don't want you to feel stress and anxiety and danger. I want you to feel joyful, abundant, worthy, confident, resilient. I'm a magnet for opportunity, all of these other things. So when I do goal planning, I always start with a vision for how you want to feel. And then I start to create goals around that. And so it is an important step, because if you start with goals, which is all about doing and executing, and I'll tell you, most people do goals wrong anyway. They always set goals that are really outcomes. I think outcomes are important, but we really need to break things down step by step by step in order to get to that next level. And then beyond having that vision and the goals, you've got to adopt the right mindset. And I coach to an abundance mindset that I believe is not something you have, it's something you do every day. Like, how I show up with my abundance beliefs is what really defines me on this journey.
That's awesome. I would love to have you back towards the end of the year, maybe early January, to have a whole podcast on goal setting. And I think you should write a book about it, by the way.
Yes, one I'd love to share.
That's awesome. How about favorite quotes of yours?
Oh my gosh, my own favorite quote. There's two of them that I say every single day. Is number one, I own my joy. I own my joy. I choose not to be a victim. Now, trust me, there's opportunities for owning my joy presented to me on a regular basis, for sure. And then the next one, which is a big Abraham Hicks thing, is everything's always working out okay for me. And I say it all the time, no matter what struggle, challenge, situation I'm in, is just that reminder that everything's always working out okay for me. I'm a big fan of like a 24-hour pity party. Like if something really is bad, like trust me, I had a pity party back in, it was actually 2007 when I saw the writing in the wall, right? I was on vacation. I'm in Aruba. I tell my team not to bother me. And finally, like one of them did. And I was like, what is going on? Had no idea the entire market melted down. And we had just received a memo, like everything was changing. And so you just have to give yourself permission. Like it's sad. It's sad when certainty evaporates, right? And it's up to me to go create more certainty. I can really weather uncertain waters very well. And that is a skill that I've developed because I've really proven over and over to myself that everything always works out okay.
That's awesome. How about a favorite book of all time, or maybe a favorite book you read recently?
Yeah, I'll just mention one that I just there's some huge pivotal ones in my career. So the two biggest ones I would say are Power of Now and Untethered Soul, because I'm big in really mastering thought, right? And really being present. But the next one that I would say is the book Energy Bus. And I had the privilege of speaking with John Gordon 2 weeks ago at an event in Tennessee. The DLP Partners, I'm sure you're familiar with them, was hosting. And it's one of those, now I've shared it with our leadership team again. It just kind of came back on my forefront as that reminder of like, man, we're not driving the bus. Who is? We've got to drive the bus. We've got to make sure the people that are on our bus are positive, supportive, and have similar outlooks, or else that's where all of the wasted energy goes, is just carrying the weight of other people on our shoulders.
Well, what a tons of wisdom and knowledge, and I can't wait for our next episode. Thank you so much.
In a world where change is the only constant, Choumil stands at the forefront, guiding title professionals to not just grow their businesses, but to master the art of innovation. With every episode, you're handed the keys to unlock unparalleled growth and stay ahead of the curve. Get ready for a transformative journey